What is an army really? More than just numbers, it's a human ocean, a force that can reshape continents. Imagine standing on a hill watching a million armed individuals move as one. The ground trembles, the air crackles. These armies aren't just statistics. They're stories of ambition, survival, and sometimes desperation. To understand them is to glimpse the extremes of human potential, both creative and destructive. Today, let's journey through history's largest armies, not just by numbers, but by the sheer weight and impact they carry. What does it take to raise, feed, and command such a force? And what happens when that human tsunami is unleashed? Shift your gaze to the frozen plains of Russia, where the Soviet Red Army became the largest in history. At its peak, over 34 million Soviets were mobilized, an entire society at war. They rebuilt after devastating losses, fighting from Stalingrad's ruins to Berlin's fall, armed with relentless determination and the iconic T-34 tank. This was warfare on a scale the world had never seen, a true clash of titans, where the primary Soviet weapon was sheer human numbers. Across the ocean, America transformed overnight after Pearl Harbor, swelling its armed forces to over 16 million. The logistics were staggering, training, feeding, and deploying millions across the globe. The American GI became a symbol of industrial might, fighting on every front from North Africa to the Pacific. This was global warfare powered by organization and scale never before imagined. The German Wehrmacht, at 13 million strong, was a terrifyingly effective machine. Blitzkrieg tactics and cutting-edge technology made them seem unstoppable, until they faced the vastness of Russia and the Allies' industrial power. Built for quick victories, the Wehrmacht was stretched thin, ultimately crushed between East and West. Even the most formidable force can break under the weight of global war. Today, the People's Liberation Army of China stands as the world's largest active military, with over 2 million personnel. But it's not just about numbers. China is rapidly modernizing, fielding stealth fighters, advanced warships, and a growing space program. The PLA is transforming from a massive infantry force into a high-tech powerhouse. This is no longer Mao's peasant army. It's a 21st century giant reshaping global power. The dragon has awoken, and its reach is global. In 1812, Napoleon assembled the Grande Armée, 685,000 men from across Europe, to invade Russia. It was a multinational force, a city on the move, the ultimate symbol of Napoleonic power. But the Russians traded space for time, letting winter and attrition do their work. Of the hundreds of thousands who marched in, fewer than 100,000 returned. Even the greatest armies can be undone by geography and hubris. Travel back to the 13th century, to the Mongol Army under Genghis Khan. Their numbers, about 500,000, were modest, but their mobility and terror tactics were unmatched. Mongol horse archers could strike anywhere, covering vast distances and using psychological warfare to force cities into submission. Resistance meant annihilation. Surrender meant survival. The Mongols conquered more in a generation than Rome did in centuries, not by size, but by speed and fear. In the 5th century BCE, Xerxes led the Persian army, legend says over 1 million strong, against Greece. The real number was likely smaller, but the myth itself terrified the Greeks. This army was a symbol of overwhelming Eastern power, a human tidal wave drawn from every corner of the empire. The legend of Thermopylae endures because of the sheer scale of the force the Spartans faced. The American Civil War saw 3 million men mobilized, a nation torn in two. It began with old-world tactics and ended with industrial slaughter, foreshadowing modern warfare. Battles like Gettysburg and Antietam left scars that shaped America's future. It was a war that forged a new nation, but at a terrible cost. The Ottoman Empire's armies, over 300,000 strong at their peak, dominated the Mediterranean for centuries. At their core were the Janissaries, elite, loyal, and feared. The Ottomans blended technology and discipline, shaping the boundaries between East and West. Their military might echoed from Constantinople to Vienna, defining an era. Today, India fields the world's second-largest standing army, over 1.4 million strong. Indian soldiers serve in deserts, jungles, and the frozen Himalayas, including the world's highest battlefield. Maintaining such a force in extreme conditions is a feat of logistics and endurance. The Indian Army stands as a shield and symbol of a rising global power. From Russia's steppes to the Himalayas, we've seen armies whose numbers boggle the mind. But behind every figure is a human life, swept into history's storms. These armies are more than statistics. They're the ultimate expression of human ambition and organization. Their echoes shape our world today, in borders, languages, and power. As technology evolves, will the next great army be human, robotic, or something else? One thing is certain, the era of giant armies is never truly over, it's just waiting for the next chapter.